Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Thanks for joining me again. And today we're just doing the latest transfer roundup. We've got talk about Anthony Martial, Marco Verratti, Benjamin Pavard, Ryan Gravenberch, and a few others. So pretty stacked on the players that United are being linked with. A little update on Mason Greenwood as well and where his future might lie away from England. So let's get into it. So, kicking us off, we have Benjamin Pavard, the Bayern Munich centre half, who was left out of Bayern's last game. It looks like he is on the move and had been strongly linked with United and was even quoted as saying he would do everything possible to join United. It now seems that there's other reports coming out saying he snubbed United, primarily from Gazzetto dello Sport, saying that Pavard had snubbed United in favour of going to Inter Milan. A bit of a strange one, swapping. I believe Inter came fourth, maybe even fifth in Serie A last year. So turning down United, a third place team in the Premier League, to go join the Italian league for the fourth or fifth, despite them getting to the Champions League final. I don't think they're going to be getting to the final again this year. It's a strange move. Now, is it born out of, well, I didn't want to join United anyway, because they can't get rid of Harry Maguire? Not too sure, actually. So whether it's a case of, well, I have to go to Inter Milan because I can't get to United as a result of United being unable to sell their players either in defence or midfield, remains to be seen. But apparently the deal has been agreed. It's 30 million euro plus 2 or 3 million in add-ons. So it does now look increasingly likely that Benjamin Pavard is going to be joining Inter Milan. I'm very sorry to see that move collapse. I was really looking forward to seeing Pavard joining up with his fellow countryman Varane. Was he there to replace Varane? I don't know. But his flexibility at right back and centre half would have provided United with a huge amount of options, flexibility, cover for injuries, competition for places. So I'm kind of sad to see that move collapse, but it does look like he is on his way to Inter Milan as a result of United being completely unable to shift Harry Maguire. So an unfortunate one there, but them's the breaks. Another move is Anthony Martial. Big talk about United waiting for a move from a Saudi Arabian club. So I think a lot of clubs now are kind of hoping and praying these Saudi clubs come in for some of their more fringe players. So United looking at receiving a sizable offer for 27-year-old Anthony Martial, who still would, you'd think, given his age profile, have a few years left in the game. However, his injury record is just not something that Erik ten Hag wants to rely upon. So United would be down a striker, but to be honest, when it comes to Martial, we're always down a striker. So it's not going to be a big loss for United. A very unfortunate end to what once looked like a promising United career from one of the most promising young players coming out of France. So it looks like we're hanging on for Saudi to come in to give us a fat stack of cash, which would allow us to start making moves in other parts of the team. I don't think another striker is going to be a priority. However, with the Greenwood announcement, I do believe United had fully intended on bringing him back into the fold, and Erik ten Hag had probably planned for having Greenwood as an option for attack and coming in off the right. We would have had two very young, exciting strikers in Greenwood and Højlund for those striker positions. But now with Greenwood looking like he's going to be leaving the club, or it's been announced he definitely is going to be leaving the club, United might be a little bit short up front. But again, we hadn't counted on Martial or Greenwood for the last 2 years, really. So it's kind of business as usual not having Martial and Greenwood available. So will United need another striker? Who knows? But it does look like midfield and defence is the priority for Ten Hag at the moment. Speaking of Greenwood, there is talk that both Steven Gerrard in Saudi and Jose Mourinho of Roma are looking to bring Greenwood in from the cold and try and get him to kickstart his career. I think a move to Mourinho at Italy would be a really good move for Greenwood to stay in a respectable league that's got a presence potentially in the Champions League. I'd much prefer to see him go to somewhere like Italy than Turkey. It's just a better league. It's more competitive. I think it would be better for his career. So yeah, a lot of talk about Mason Greenwood potentially going there. In what capacity does he go? Who knows? Um, is it going to be a full sale? Is it going to be a loan? Do United want to put up with the fuss that would come with them loaning him, meaning he's still on the books at United? Who knows? I personally am speculating that it's going to be a loan, given the kind of the wording of that report saying that they were going to work with Mason on how he can further his career away from Old Trafford. That wasn't, we are selling him or he's leaving with immediate effect. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but everyone seems to be reading into that. And a lot of people speculating that it could be a loan move. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see. As a result of the Pavard move not going ahead, it does look like United might turn their attention to the young Todibo, 23-year-old, plying his trade in France. A lot of people excited for Todibo. A lot of people wanted Todibo ahead of Pavard. I don't know enough about him. I do know a lot about Pavard. I was really hoping for that transfer to go through. But as a result of that Inter move looking like it's going to go ahead, Jean-Claire Todibo now looks to be the next defender in line, with United having missed out on Kim Min-jae, then Disasi. Obviously, Jurriën Timber was a target last year. He's gone to Arsenal. Now Benjamin Pavard has gone. So Todibo, a little bit lower on the list, possibly because of his lack of experience, or essentially not having as much experience as Pavard, especially winning those major trophies with Champions Leagues and Bundesligas and World Cups. A fairly well decorated and very flexible player. It does look like Todibo is back on United's radar. The Amrabat saga still manages to rage on. Still looks like he's going to leave Fiorentina and does want to move to United. I think, given Liverpool's struggles and the type of players they've been going for and the lack of success they've had in the transfer market, I think if Sofyan Amrabat did want to go to Liverpool, he'd be gone there by now. Such is their need for a defensive player. Have they decided to stall because they're going for Gravenberch? United are going head-to-head with Liverpool for the exact same players as Liverpool were doing with Chelsea. And hopefully United can have the same level of success as Chelsea did in beating Liverpool to those big signings. Sofyan Amrabat, it does look like we'd be able to get him for around 25 million. And it's a sad state of affairs that United are unable to move for a player that they so clearly and badly need, given the struggles that Casemiro has had in the middle of the pitch for the first two games of the season. A mixture of a lack of fitness, not looking match ready, maybe being a year older, but also down to Ten Hag's tactics of having 5 attacking players, leaving Casemiro isolated. So that double pivot that we had successfully last year with either Eriksen or Bruno coming a little bit more back in a 4-2-3-1 formation to help out Casemiro. It seems now this 4-1-4-1 formation that Erik Ten Hag is quite insistent on trying to get right is leaving Casemiro very, very isolated. Do we need to replace Casemiro if we want to kind of persist with this formation? The early evidence would suggest yes. So can Amrabat hold down the fort on his own as well? I don't think anyone is capable of holding down the fort as a one-man midfield against anyone that's going to have 3 players around you. But you'll have to talk to Erik Ten Hag about that. So Sofyan Amrabat, still waiting on that to move. Obviously, Ryan Gravenberch is being looked at as well. All the major publications are looking at that. Manchester Evening News, Gazzetta dello Sport, John Richardson. All the major outlets are looking at that. L'Equipe are also looking at United, looking at Marco Verratti. Now, Gravenberch is an option. Now, Liverpool are looking at Verratti as well, apparently. So a bit of a scramble for these kind of more defense-minded midfielders going on at the moment. Gravenberch, obviously, having worked with Erik Ten Hag before at Ajax. Yet another member of that famous Ajax team that did so well under Erik Ten Hag, not really making the grade. We've seen a bunch of players leaving from Ajax over the last few years who have just failed to cut it at the top level when they've gone overseas. Whether it's been Matthias de Ligt, everyone has their opinions on him, but he went to a middling Italian league for a middling Juventus team and didn't do well, and they sold him. He was a big move for Juventus, and it didn't work out. Now he's gone to Bayern Munich, and he's doing okay there. But again, Bayern, or the German league, is not the the greatest league in the world. I think it's quite weak generally. So Matthijs de Ligt certainly hasn't reached the dizzy heights that were expected of him, nor has Donny van de Beek. Gravenberch, when he got his move to Bayern, that didn't go so well. And a number of other players that have moved from there that it just hasn't seemed to work out. So yeah, a little bit of a funny one, that one. But Gravenberch, looking to resurrect his career. He's still only young. He's 21 years of age. He hasn't managed to get himself into what is admittedly quite a strong Bayern Munich midfield. So Gravenberch now looking for a move. It is believed that Bayern are kind of willing to sell him. It looks like there is talk that they want to keep him. The story changes every week, but do they need to sell him? He's young, 21. I think it's more he wants to move than Bayern want to sell him, because they're not going to get a lot for him. It's only about 25 million. So Liverpool, United, battling it out for him. Marco Verratti, that's an option as well for United, apparently. I wouldn't be a big fan of that move. His injury record hasn't been great the last few years. His discipline off the pitch isn't the best. Known to like a little bit of a party and a cigarette. At the age of 30, with his injury record, having spent the majority of his best years at a circus of PSG in a one-team league that's a third-rate league. Verratti had undoubted talent, but his best years, I believe, are behind him, and I don't want to see United signing another 30-year-old with potential fitness issues and having to fix that problem either next year or the year before once again. So a profile of Sofyan Amrabat or even Gravenberch would be a lot more appealing to me, and I think a lot more United fans as well. That is pretty much it for the transfer roundup today. No more news other than that, but there seems to be a bit of an impasse going on at United, trying to get players out the door in order to be able to fund players coming in. At the moment, the real excitement is about Anthony Martial getting a potential move to Saudi. That could bring in a large sum of money that United are currently unable to get from the sales of Harry Maguire or Donny van de Beek, or even indeed Scott McTominay. As anything else comes in, we'll be sure to let you know. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.